Have you ever needed to create drop-down lists that change dynamically based on another selection? That's exactly what dependent lookups allow you to do. Let's begin by understanding the fundamental concept of dependent lookups and how they can transform our data management. At its core, a dependent lookup involves creating drop-down lists where the options in one drop-down change based on the selection made in another drop-down. In our dataset, when we choose a category in column A, we want the drop-down list for column B to contain a list of relevant applications. The drop-down list for column C should adapt dynamically. Instead of manually updating drop-down lists every time our data changes, Excel automates the process for us. This not only saves us time, but also reduces errors and ensures data consistency across our spreadsheets. And in this video, we'll learn how to set up and manage dependent drop-down lists using named ranges and Excel functions. Before we start creating our drop-downs, we'll need a well-organized dataset. Before we create our drop-down list, first we need to create named ranges, and the named ranges will just contain the items that will appear inside of each drop-down list. Let's do this on a separate worksheet. This first table we can think of as the master, a full list of apps, their platforms, and which category they belong to. Any other list that we create will be derived from this full list. At the heart of this interconnected system will be named ranges. And we'll start by naming these three columns of data. Select the data in the first column, click inside the name box, give it a name, and press enter on our keyboard. Do the same for the other two columns. So now we have three separate lists, each with a defined name that we can use to build our drop-down system. But if these categories are to appear inside a drop-down list, we only want one instance of each category to be listed. In other words, our drop-down list should only list spreadsheet once as opposed to 5 times. The next drop-down list should only list Microsoft Excel once as opposed to 3 times. And so the next thing we need to do is extract a unique list from these two columns of data. In Microsoft Excel, we can use a function called unique. Now, because the unique function is a dynamic array function, which means it can return multiple results, we're unable to use this directly within a data validation drop-down list. In this cell here, we'll start with the equal sign, start typing the name of the function, use the arrow keys to move down the list, and press tab to select the function. And the unique function needs to know where the array of data is located. And we've already named that array of data, so we can simply start typing the name, close the brackets for the unique function, and boom. Ideally, we want to sort this list so that it's always in alphabetical order. Edit the formula inside the formula bar, start with the sort function, and the sort function also needs to know which array of data needs sorting. And this array will come from the values returned by the unique function, which means we just need to close the brackets at the end for the sort function. In order for our drop-down system to work, we need to know all the applications that are available for each category. And this means it's another task for the unique function. The array is going to be the list of applications, but we only want to include items where the category in the same row is equal to graphics. We need to nest the filter function in here, and the filter function wants to know which array of data to look at. Luckily for us, we've already named that array of data. and the filter function wants to know which items or rows to include. And we want any rows where the category is equal to this cell here. Close the brackets for the filter function, close the brackets for the unique function. To make sure this list is always in alphabetical order, we can wrap the sort function around this entire formula. We can autofill this to the right. When we're entering data back on the main worksheet, suppose we've selected spreadsheet from the first dropdown, then we select Microsoft Excel from the second dropdown. On the third dropdown list for platform, we want it to contain only valid entries. Down here, we need to extract the platforms for each software application. We can use the filter function again, and it's important to make sure these subheadings exactly match the names as they appear in the full list. And if you look at the name of the applications, you'll notice that we're using an underscore character instead of a space. Do you know why it's necessary for us to do that? Let me know in the comments section. In this cell here, we'll start with the filter function. The array of data that we want to extract from is the full list of platforms. So when the filter function is looking down that column, we only want to include the items where the application is equal to this cell here. We'll wrap the sort function around this formula. And as long as these subheadings are spelled out correctly and appear inside the master table, we can autofill this formula to the right. Who doesn't love Excel? We need to copy this formula and paste it into this cell. Autofill to the right. Boom. To finish this little task off, we need to name these data ranges. This will be the foundation for our drop-down system. Select the data in this column. Inside the name box, we'll name this one as Unique Category List. And we need to remember to press Enter on our keyboard. This worksheet contains all the necessary preparation to make the system work. A quick way to check and verify the named ranges within a spreadsheet is to choose it from the name box and make sure it highlights the correct range of data. Now the list of different categories, these all need to be named ranges too, but this time we'll select the data and include the heading. Go over to the Formulas tab and click on Create from Selection. And the name that we want to give it, we want that to come from the top row. If we want to quickly create another 5 named ranges, we can do this. Select all of the headers and the data rows and click on Create from Selection. When we click on Top Row, Excel will happily create 5 new names for us that will be named according to these headings. These named ranges will be the backbone of our dependent drop-down system. And the essence of how this will work is that for each category, there has to be a named range of the same name. The list of applications and their platforms, these need to be named ranges too. Select the entire range, including the headings. Create from selection, using the top row to generate the names. Now that all the prep is done, we can head back over to our main worksheet. Let's create our first drop-down list. Select the rows in this column, over to the Data tab, and click on Data Validation. And what we're saying is, in all of these cells that we've selected, we only want to allow data that comes from a list. And now Excel wants to know, where is this list located? And because we've already named our list in this box, we can simply type equals and the name of our list. Now it's time for the exciting part, creating the dependent drop-down list. Using the indirect function, we'll make the application list change based on the selected category. Select the cells in this column and choose Data Validation. In this example, what we really want to do is type equals, and then we want to point to our named range called spreadsheet. So far, so good. But when we change the category, the data validation in this column is still pointing to our spreadsheet list. This is where the indirect function comes into play. Let's see how it works. We need to introduce the indirect function. And the indirect function will look at the name in cell A2 and use it to reference the named range of the same name. Cell A2 needs to be a relative cell reference. So now we need to create a dynamic dropdown for the platform column. And this dropdown list will be dependent on which application we have selected. And how exactly will this work? Thinking back to our other worksheet, we already have named ranges for each and every application. We'll just need the indirect function to reference the appropriate name. Select the cells in this column, choose Data Validation, and create a list. When this box asks for the source, effectively, it's asking for the cell reference where the list is located. And we want to say is equal to the named range that has the same name as whatever appears in column B. Our super duper interconnected drop-down system has the ability to dynamically update in real time. Here, we'll see how adding new data to our master list automatically updates all dependent drop-downs and the connected formulas. We'll select these 3 cells and insert a new row. And when we return to the main worksheet, all the drop-down lists have refreshed automatically. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment. If you want more, hit subscribe.